Next speaker is Andrew Wilson from... Sorry, Ansgar, I'm sorry. Mistake on my side. Next speaker but one is Andrew Wilson. And now it's my pleasure, my big pleasure, to introduce Ansgar Hebborn, Dr. Ansgar Hebborn, representative of efpia, of the industry in this one. And I would say, as Niklas involved in HTA from beginning on, he has a degree from Bayreuth University, so a long time involved in HTA, and is spearheading the whole EU HTA initiative, UNETA 21, from beginning on, and I think one of the most experienced people in the field. Thanks very much, Ansgar.
Thank you very much for your introduction, Jörg. Well, considering the geopolitical turmoil that we are in, I think it's clear for everyone how important it is that we all as individuals, as companies, as business can form reliable expectations. Well, this is what businesses need. We need to be able to form reliable expectations. And when we found the EU regulation itself as a rather thin piece of paper document, I think we can realize how important it was, the work that we all did, the work that the Commission did, the work that countries did and people did to make this more understandable for us. I think we have now, through the secondary legislation, but also the guidance documents that are out there, a very good first idea of what's ahead of us, what's expected from us. I think that's a major achievement, and I think it's important to recognize this important work during the last 3-4 years. I think there's many more years of UNETA before that helped to frame all of this. Reliable expectations, predictability is what we are looking for here in this field. When we think about how we measure, how we track progress, how we monitor the whole EU HTA framework, I think it's important to go back to the ambition for it. And that's not, it's somewhat, of course, codified in recitals and in the regulation itself, but there is something that you find around it at a higher level. You find this certainly in the statements of the European Commission representatives, but you also find it from member states. I think Niklas made a few quite relevant points to this. I took this statement here, bringing a significant improvement in ensuring that innovative and effective health technologies are available for patients across the EU. It's not that the EU HTA regulation can really solve all the many issues that we face. I think there are these pricing issues, there are these issues of funding, allocating funding, following through with investments into innovation. There's many things that we cannot solve at an EU level, but we believe also as industry here into this, that this EU HTA regulation can make an important contribution if we deliver against its promise. And that's the work that is ahead of us. That's ahead of us now in the time when this regulation is live. Elements underneath are certainly more timely and evidence-based decisions, the timeliness of decision-making. We really start with something that is available very early in the life cycle of a product. I think that's an important objective here. There is the idea to systematically consult patients and clinicians, but also involve other stakeholders, including HTDs, in the process, in the JCAs, but also the other deliverables. There is the idea of higher scientific quality. But again, what is this? And I think Bruno Falissard tried to open this up. Science is more complex. It's not just a textbook. Science is something that's alive. I think there is a scientific discussion in this HTA field that we need to follow. It cannot be just a convention between HTA agencies as of today. I think there is more that has to be put into this and ultimately also allow us to form expectations. There is a key promise around efficiency gains. I think it's the idea to save member states and HTDs precious time, duplicative efforts, and also resources, resource sharing. Having sufficient resources for HTA is a major issue in any HTA agency. So the idea is not to build more capacity in all of these areas, but to put it at the right level and to leverage it to the maximum. This is really sharing efficiency, available resources to deliver something that's useful for all. A harmonized clinical assessment process and more clarity, and I mentioned this, predictability around what's required, what's expected, what's expectable in terms of clinical evidence. There's a theme that's there now with certainly the new commission. We see this very prominent, and we heard it already prominent here from various speakers. It's the idea that Europe wants to regain competitiveness against other regions of the world, also for our industry, as a space to do research, to develop drugs, but also to ensure that the drugs can be used and are available to patients. I think that's an important theme that we need to keep an eye on. What does it mean? Well, it really means, for example, for us that EU HTA simplifies and clearly does not add complexity to procedures that are already quite unpredictable, quite challenging, and not always consistent, different between member states, where I think there is an opportunity to realize achievements. I mentioned the important achievement the last couple of years that have certainly brought the secondary legislation to help to form expectation, but with very limited ability to test these procedures. We did some exercises around PICOs, but in the end, it's really now that we start realizing shortcomings, certain themes that we need to address. We have, if I understand correctly, an expectation that there will be around 20 joint clinical assessments this year, which means that at least these 20 companies are working on these procedures. So there's a lot of activity. It's not just maybe 2 companies currently going through something. It's really a wide group of companies of very different stature. I represent a very large pharma company, but there's others that for the first time have the plan to launch a product in Europe, which is a big undertaking. These people need guidance, help, and understanding of what they are up for in this space. We need to act quickly. Well, I heard about the evaluation in 2028. Evaluation is a big theme in EU legislation. It's a massive undertaking. But here, I think we need something different on top. I think we need to really act as we see the issues, and we will see them quickly. Issues, they are not issues per se, but they are often unspecified expectations from an HTD, how stakeholders get involved, how clinical and patient expert get involved. I think we need to work on guidance, and there's nothing that should hold us back as we realize these issues. What we think there is a need for is a continuous learning and improvement mechanism involving all stakeholders that allows us to get closer to these objectives as we speak and as we do work. There's concrete opportunities, just a few of them, for the coordination group and the secretariat. Continue to reach out and explain this framework to others. And I think you announced there's a clear schedule of such engagements. They're really valuable. There's certain faces from companies, for example, also patients and clinicians that you see all the time, but there's more that get involved, and these should have a chance to be onboarded to this environment in order to prepare. I think there's more that can be done, but we need to see this, how it really plays out, to really mobilize the knowledge and insights of HTDs in the process of JCAs. There are opportunities in this secondary legislation. Let's use them. Let's use the opportunity to mobilize knowledge and to effectively communicate. Specifically when the processes are really new, there is a need to do so. Collect feedback along the way on all of these procedures. Strengthen the engagement of the stakeholder network. I think it was also good to hear from the Commission that there is a plan to do so. There's more that we can do with the stakeholder network that's codified with a limited setup, what it is, what it has to do in the regulation itself. But people are active, people meet. So certainly we as industry associations, not just efpia, but quite a number of others, we work together and try to really articulate what we see as most imminent need for clarification. There's a need to build capacity, but while we realize these efficiency gains at national level. It can't be that we have to stock up and hire HTA expertise all across at all levels now that there is an EU regulation. That's a difficult proposition to make. I think we see quite a number of member states. We're here in Germany. Germany has worked from the start on thinking about how can this EU HTA regulation outputs be integrated. It's a very legalistic environment, so there is a legal foundation that has been determined here. We see this in some other countries, but there's others that really don't know. Some have asked for help and support to think about HTA system development, which is good to see, but I think we need to really continue this. Some are waiting for outputs. These outputs are, yes, they may only come very late this year, early next year, but it's not the time to wait in the member states. I think for us, there's an expectation from our members in our associations to track the experience, to make the experience available, to distill learnings, and to provide consolidated, aggregated feedback back into the process, into the HTA process itself. We have started to conceptualize a monitoring framework where we will look at really the specific experience of companies based on more objective data that's published, but also very specifically the experience of companies that go through this process. And of course, it will take some time to have readouts, but there is now really the time to focus on what could be key performance indicators also for the external engagement around this. It's about process predictability. It's about the acceptance of state-of-the-art methodology. It's about the complexities that are coming into this through additional requests and requirements at national level. And of course here the effective integration of these findings. Are they really used from our perspective, from a perspective of HTDs? There's different approaches required when we look into the various processes. Certainly the JSC requires more surveys to understand what's the capacity need, what are the current issues with this system and the way how these things are available than for JCA, but we really want to make a valuable contribution. We want to engage with other stakeholders on this concept and share, of course, findings to ultimately reach an improvement, not just in a monitoring, not just in the evaluation of the whole thing, but as soon as possible. So, in summary, we remain committed to this as industry associations, not just EFPIA here, to contribute to the continuous evolution of the system closer towards the original ambition of the EU, member states, Commission, and Parliament. I think that's important. We want to see these continuous learning and improvement mechanisms, not just this ultimate focus on a very intense monitoring evaluation process in 27, 28. We need to work on these immediate opportunities to improve, and we are developing this framework clearly with an ambition to share and to be open for feedback and for engagement to strengthen this important contribution towards more equal, towards more timely access across the EU. Thank you.
Thanks, Ansgar, for this excellent overview from EFPIA perspective.